Welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic Non Classics. This is episode number 21, 2285 and Doubleshot number 2179. Now, I got Fantasitc 4 and I also got the Avengers here. First up we have is the fourth and final trade to collect the run by Mark Waid and Mike Windigo. This collects issues 414 to 424. Yeah, this is the end. And with this also, basically, I've gotten everything as far back as like 1995, I think so. Let me take a look here. I think it's 95. Actually, no, it's more like as far back as 96, definitely. Yeah. Far back as 96. Yep. Far back as 96. Yes. Still got a handful of these epic collections to go through before I finally get the series done. Yeah. And I read the series a long time ago. I'm just discussing now review-wise. So. Car Cancel does an issue in here. We'll get to that. So. The first arc in here. The first thing involved in here for 414. Oh, excuse me. 514. Now, we do see return of a very popular villain group for Fantastic Four. This is called Dysfunctional. And with this issue here, we see the debut of a brand new character named Salamandra. Yeah. And get this. She is the Wizard's ex-wife. Yep. So the Wizard is brand new look. Which, by the way, he still has his look today. When I started reading comics back in 2004, this is the outfit he was wearing. And he's here with this new line of the Frightful Four, comprising himself, Hydro Man, who's replacing Sandman, and the Trapster, along with this beautiful woman, Salamandra, his ex-wife. Yes, when in the world these got married? Don't know. Yeah, and apparently, the character who's Bentley, who is the Wizard's son. Yes, apparently that this kid is kind of considered to be his, a child of his, and we do see the debut of another character in this issue. A character by the name of Cole Whitman. And she only exists in this three-parter, because after this three-parter, she never is seen again. No, seriously, she's never seen again in the comics. As for why in the world this is, I have no freaking idea. Yeah, it's so. What's the obvious plan for the Fantastic Four? Simple: take down the Fantastic Four. That's the obvious plan for them. So this, of course, is like right after the events of when Reed gets sort of normal. So basically, he can't exactly order any food because he's not wearing shoes. He's not wearing a shirt and shoes. So this, of course, is Cole, who is Human Torch's brand new love interest. And she gets in this arc. While her brother continues to appear this very day, and her father, she does not. She's here only for this one story arc, and that's it. We got the Fire 4 here. Now, you might be asking, okay, so Trapster and Wizard, part of the group since like the group first time back in the 60s. Fine. But when in the world did other members join the group? Like, the Sandman was part of the group for our first several incarnations. Excuse me. At one point, they actually had Electro briefly join the team. Yes, Electro. When in the world did Electro join the team? He joined in the 70s. Yes. The 504 are just reoccurring Fantastic Four villains. That's most what they are. Yeah. I've covered a lot of appearances already. And most of the lamp up until the late 60s, throughout the entirety of the 60s, it's most of the same lineup. Wizard, Trapster, Sandman, Medusa. Though Medusa basically doesn't do that for a while. Yeah. Let's see. So they replaced Medusa with Thundera. And though Sam is always generally part of the group for some reason. Yes, and then he stopped being part of the group. Yeah, and they briefly replaced Thundera with Brute. Yeah, he's something else altogether. I'll discuss him. Yeah, then we have Electro joining the team. Yes, Electro. Why is Electro part of the team? Oh. You're probably thinking, at what point did Hydro Man join the team? That's a very good question. I'm trying to find out right now. When did he join the team? Okay, so Hydro Man first joined the roster back in issue 326 of Fantastic Four, which was released in 1989. That is when he joined the group. And even Claw joined the group, yes. But the Wizard's always generally here. And you might be curious though, what was the most recent appearance of the Frightful Four, you might ask? Well, when they captured the flashback Avengers Volume 7, I think it was Civil War II, Kingdom number 2. It was cameos. Yeah, but if you want to think of last prop appearance, well, they did appear in one issue of you could say Howard the Duck was the last prop appearance of this group. And that was back in, 2015. Yeah, that was the last prop appearance of the group. So yeah, basically, according to Cole, she was living with her father because he abandoned her when she was a child. Oh, yeah, and there's also frequent conversations between Salamander and the Wizard where they regret sleeping together. Yeah. Where, yeah, I married a hot woman and I divorced her. That's what the Wizard's thinking when he sees Salamandra. He's got a beautiful daughter. Yeah, and then at the end of the three-parter, she joins the group, and then of course, at first Fight Four does the Fantastic Four this arc. Then they come back for a rematch, and they win. Call herself was never seen again. Yeah, it's almost like they introduced her for this one story, and then they drop her from the comic. Yes, and then 517 is quite interesting of an issue. Why is 517 an issue? Because, okay, so 517 is part of the Avengers Assembled saga. Yep. It is a tie-in to this particular event. Oh yeah, it is a tie-in. Thinking, what? Really? Yes. For some reason, the Fantastic Four Disassembled stuff is only here for about 2 issues. Let's see. It's here for this one story called Fortitude. Yes. It's here for this 3-parter. It's mostly, but now the Fantastic Four have been disbanded. Not Fantastic Four. It was the Avengers. Yes, they were disbanded because of the story. This is set just after they disbanded. So, thing is in crisis, and then this leads into a story arc, a story arc that basically is the end of Mark Wendigle's run for the book. Where, get this, so they said swap powers, which is something they did in the second movie for Fantastic Four, where Reed, they some lost powers, they got them back, so Reed and the Thing got their powers back, but then here's something really weird. Sue and Johnny swapped powers. So Johnny became the Invisible Man, and Sue became the Human Torch. And it's last of this one story arc. Yeah. And here's something interesting, though, about this. Galactus himself shows up on Earth. And get this. He just shines a light on the the Invisible Man now, and he becomes a Herald Galactus. I'm like, really? That's interesting. And by the end of the story, he's back normal. Yeah. And of course, Ever gets the powers back. And, well, also during the story, there's something really weird happens here. Where, get this, apparently this is a plan by Reed to have Johnny become a herald, just so we can depower Galactus for a brief period of time. Yes, seriously. And then he gets restored to power just with the Stormbreaker Beta and Bill miniseries, which came out like not long after this. And then the final issue of this book, well, of this run anyways, yes. Excuse me, not the only time we have Galactus go back to Glenn, per se. Apparently at one point, because Johnny has talked to him a lot through the story arc, and he keeps ignoring him, and then when he mentions the name Glenn, he's like, you have my attention. And then he turns back to human, and he goes back to normal. The final issue is just a standard Fantastic Four issue, just him saving a day. It's well, they also have a little people getting the powers thing, but it's a really interesting issue. It's not a bad issue in the run on per se, but yeah. But overall, this run was actually really good. And sadly, this is the end of the Mark Windigo stuff. And this you might find interesting. With this also, everything that was published from the year of 1986 up until very recently is all reviewed. Yep. With the exception of the final 2 issues of the previous volume for the series and the current run. But yeah, everything published in the last 20 years. Actually, everything in the past 30 years have been reviewed now. Yep, I officially closed that gap. Now you might be curious though, because just closed Fantastic Four 2000. Like, who's left to go to 2000s? Well, there's a few people. There's Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Wolverine. There's some basically get really close, like Captain America and like any X, but those 4 are the only ones left. Well, the only book you can probably consider a period of time where I have left is probably She-Hulk. And that's it. So, moving on to... Oh, by the way, my final thoughts overall on this Mark Waid run. Surprisingly, this run started... like, basically, this run was actually ending... Like, when I got to comics... I think it was like in the summer of 2004, I believe it was. So, I think it was like... let's see... I think it was getting close to the... I think this run had about a year left. Yeah, I think that's about right. Because it was just after I basically got into reading... It was after I saw Spider-Man 2 that I got into reading comics. And basically, during the last... Basically, about a year after I got into comics is when this run ended. Places with Carl Ketzler. We had JMS. Jonathan Hickman. Lots of writers in this book since then. But now moving on to Avengers. Now, you might be curious though. How many number ones have I seen for Fantastic Four since I'm reading comics? You want an answer to that? Volume 4 by Matt Fraction. Volume 5 by James Robertson. Volume 6 by Dan Slott. Basically only 3. Yes, 3. 3 times. You're thinking, really? 3? Yes, even thinking the most number ones I've seen is Deadpool. Yeah, because the first issue came back in the 90s, everything else came out like in the last 20 years or so. Alright. Oh, by the way, Case Avengers, how many of the ones I've seen? About the same, actually a little bit more. I think the first one I saw was back in 2010. Yep. So, we're on to Avengers Epic Collection Volume 8, The Kang War. Yep. Now, this is a very interesting trade. Now, this sadly also is the end of Steve Ecklehart's run of the book, and he gets replaced by, well, Tony Isabella. Of course, Roy Thomas and some stuff here. Book collects issues 129 to 149 for Avengers, along with giant-sized Avengers 2 through 4. Steve Eckhart is the main writer of these issues, along with Roy Thomas and Tony Isabella, with Sal Buscema, David Cockrum, George Acosta, the late George Perez, Don Heck, and Keith Pellert on the artwork. This book covers the period of November 1974 to July of 1976. So yeah, first we start with some Kang issues. Yeah, fight Kang for a story arc. Yep, which even continues in Giant Size Avengers and Giant Size Avengers #2. Yep, which this one is we have a shotgun of this one because basically it involves Hawkeye rejoining the team. Yep, and also we get a bit of shocker ending in this. We actually see something quite interesting, and this is a very important issue in Marvel Comics history. I'll get to that. So, so big aspect issue fighting stuff with Kang, stuff with Mantis in this issue. The big thing at the end of this issue for Giant Size Event #2, we have the death of the swordsman. Yep, he dies, and he remains dead up until 2010. Yes, he's brought back briefly Chaos War, and then he supposedly survives, but they don't really mention if he's still around or not. But yeah, he dies, radiation poisoning, and of course with that also Hawkeye is back in the team. Mantis, of course, basically there's some weird stuff involving her later. And then we have something quite interesting, though. Let's see. Then we have the Avengers versus Titanium Man, Radioactive Man, Crimson Dynamo, and the Slasher. Who are, three of these guys are Iron Man villains. This is the first appearance of the Titanic 3. Yes. Who appear in this issue, Giant Size Avengers #4, 2 issues of Iron Man, and an issue of the Marvels. Yeah, and by the way, the Slasher, I believe he's an original character who debuted in the story arc. Yeah. Who, by the way, after this very issue, he would not return again until 1993, where he's working for Viper and during Mark Greenwald's run. So this was 1974. Basically, almost 20 years later, he returns, makes a one-off appearance, and that's it. No, seriously, Slasher himself does never appear ever again at the issue. Yep. And then we have the very next issue, debut one of my favorite villain groups. After fighting them, we did have the debut of one of my favorite groups, and I'm so happy to get a chance to talk about this group again, because I think I talked about this group already in my comic history. We have, for the first time ever, we've gotten to this issue here. We have debut of the Legion of the Unliving, comprised of the Frankenstein Monster, Wonder Man, who was dead at this point in time, Baron Zemo, the Jim Hammond Human Torch, and I believe that is a character known as Midnight. Yes, so you have a character from Shang-Chi in this book. Yes, Shang-Chi, who had just previously appeared back in Marvel Specials #16. Yeah, and he dies in his debut appearance. But this is the original version of the Legion of Living. Yeah, and then we get more as time goes on. So they appear for these 2 issues plus Giant Size Avengers #3. So you have Cap here as Nomad. Yeah, so then of course we also have Rima Top here as well, because he had time travel to the present day from ancient Egypt. And of course also, well, there's also Mantis here. So fighting these people here also, I almost forgot, we also have the return of the Ghost. Yes. Yeah, the Ghost. A Silver Surfer villain. who, get this, had just returned after dying. He was he did pop out a few times after this. His last appearance was in A number 4 for Silver Surfer, released back in the 90s. So we also see this sort of ghost of the swordsman. Yeah, this guy here. This could be quite strange to explain this guy later. So, yeah, then we continue with a two-parter where we lead into issue 132, which continues this, and then we conclude this with Giant Size Avengers number 3. The thing with the Giant Size books were they come out once every like 3 months. That's what I read is like, wow, these books come out very quickly. I think after number 4, I think that's when they officially stopped. Yes, I think after 4, I think that's when they officially stopped the Giant Size books. Well, they did one more, issue number 5, but that was a reprint. So technically, you could definitely say that issue 4 is the last one. While like you have the first 4 being original, while in the case of the last one, it just a reprint. That's simple what it is. Yep. And then we conclude this with Giant Avengers number 3, where they conclude this 3-part story arc where they defeat the original version of the Legion of the Living, which they do come back, by the way, in a later book. And I believe this book was, I think with this issue in particular, yeah, Steve Carve writes this one. So basically, we also have Mortals pop up here too. So at the end of this Giant Size book, we basically have the spam of the original Legion of Living, and then we basically have the return of Mantis' father, Lebra. Of course, we also deal with stuff with the Human Torch. Yeah. So yeah, we got the long-awaited origin of the Vision, where they say he was originally the Human Torch, but his body was made from the Human Torch. It's a weird multi-parter. Yeah, and basically, me. Yeah, so they begin this sort of multi-parted the origin of the Vision. Yeah, which is interesting. And they say, oh yeah, we have Ultron 5. You can find him again in this issue. No, he's just in a flashback. Excuse me. Yeah, he appears just in a flashback. He's not in the present day stuff. Nope. We have more stuff here with this other swordsman. And then basically we actually have the final Giant Size Avengers book. 5, which is reprint. This is the last one. Or 4 is a very important one. Why, as you might ask? Well, there's something really important about this issue. So then fighting Dormammu in this issue. Yes, frickin' Dormammu. Yeah, it's like basically fighting. It's like, for some reason, Echo Heart decided to have it where, okay, let's have him fight a bunch of characters from Doctor Strange for this comic in particular. Yes, so after they deal with that, and then at the end of the issue, we had something shocking happen. Yep. We have it where Vision proposes to Scarlet Witch. And then we have apparently where Mantis marries a swordsman. At the end of the issue, we have a double wedding where Vision marries Scarlet Witch and Mantis basically marries, well, a swordsman. Basically, against his ghost. And then, of course, she disappears, never to be seen again for several years in Marvel Comics. Yeah, because apparently Eckhart decided to take over to DC for reasons. I have no idea why. Yeah, then she popped up in, after this, she pops up in Justice League America 142. Yes. Appears for one issue. Yeah. Yeah, and for some... Now, here's the thing. What happened with her? After appearing in one issue of Justice League. Yes, Justice League. She then popped up in a book called Scorpio Rose #2, where comic published by Eclipse Comics. Yes. And excuse me. Yeah, and this is quite weird though. The fact that basically she leaves Marvel Comics for 10 years. The reason? Eckhart took the character of DC for like one-off appearance. Yeah, I don't... It's just quite baffling to say the least. As far as I can tell, I don't know exactly what the reason was for this at all. No, not really. I mean, Eckhart just left DC. He just left Marvel. Yeah, this is quite strange. It's almost like he retired the character. Anybody think it was the giant-sized book, his last Avengers book per se? Well, last book he wrote for this series. Not really. He would actually continue for a little bit even afterwards. He actually continued for another into issue 152. Yeah. Yeah, so... and then we have basically 136 where we're just a reprint. Yeah, and then we have 137 where basically Beast shows up and wants to become Avenger. We have Scarlet Witch and Vision on their honeymoon. Yeah, and Beast basically becomes sort of a reserve member. He basically becomes a potential member of the team, but he does not eventually join the team per se. It's weird they have basically have a reprint, so... Yeah, and then of course, Beast still continues basically appearing in the series. He's applied to become an applicant. And he works with them a lot throughout the series. And they also find him the Stranger in this issue. Who turns out to be Toad. Yes, frickin' Toad. Yep. And then we have, well, Janet and Yellowjacket get injured in this issue. So they have to be in the hospital for the next couple issues until, well, Beast finds a cure for them. And also a camp appearance by Whirlwind, who his last appearance was in Marvel Feature #9. Yes. So, this is his first appearance in 2 years. Yep, so... Yeah, then we have stuff with the Brand Corporation. Well, basically about 140 is about curing Hank Pym of his little problem. And then we have the return of the Squadron Sinister. Yep, they return here. And they added a new member, Lady Lark. Lady Lark and Golden Archer. Yeah, it turns out this is actually a character not from Earth, but it turns out this is actually his return of the Squadron Supreme. Yeah, the Squadron Supreme. And Golden Archer, in case you're curious about him, he's a take on Green Arrow. Lady Lark is a take on Black Canary. And Hawkgirl. They've got a guy called Captain Hawk. Yes. And then there's something really weird. They go back in time when they meet a bunch of Western superheroes. Rawhide Kid, Two Gun Kid, Kid Colt, Ringo Kid, Knight Raider, and of course Patsy Walker's here too. Yeah. And of course Beast recognizes her right away because she was this mysterious red-headed woman who really wanted to meet the Avengers. And then of course with issue 143, she's still here. Oh, time travel, so I'm going to get Back to the Future. And then we have some interesting happen. 144, Patsy Walker becomes Hellcat for the first time. What's the concept used to belong to Tigra? Yep. Yeah. And she continues to have with the Avengers for the next few issues. And then we have debut of a character known as the Assassin, who turns out to be a woman. Yeah. And she's here for 2 issues. Yeah. And these are fill-in issues done by Tony Isabella. Yep. And in 147, they fight the Squadron Supreme again. For reasons. Yeah, and the President of the United States is a guy named Nelson Rockefeller. Oh my gosh. Nelson Rockefeller. Well, I believe it was the real life VP at this point. Yep. So Hawkeye leaves the group. And then we have in 248 more stuff with Squadron Supreme. Yeah, where it turns out the whole president was controlled by the Serpent Crown. And wrap it up basically with them fighting Orca. Yeah. An excellent set of issues. I give this book a 10 out of 10. It's that damn good. Okay, so that's episode of you. Next episode's going to be another comic corner and then Eden Zero. Okay, next video. Bye.